Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a historical humans heritage. And today we are doing a very special tie-in to our podcast where we actually talked about the stone spheres of the Diquis people in Costa Rica. So we are going to the wonderful country of Costa Rica, and I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about them. One, because they're kind of cool. Two, it ties into the podcast. But three, I want to talk about their preservation laws.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. Here we are. Yep. So for the first time ever, we gave our HH Heritage this wonderful series the spotlight for the podcast, and our choice was the Diquis stone spears. These wonderful, excuse me, these wonderful stone spears. As you can see on screen before you, they're a bunch of round rocks. They're about the size of a person. You gotta love them.
Yeah, they look deceptively small in those images, but
Yeah.
they're quite chonky.
Yeah, no, those trees back there are huge. uh, so these Diquis stone spears come from the Diquis Delta in Costa Rica. They come from sort of a single river valley, more or less, and they were all built between 1500 and 500 years ago by the Diquis uh, culture, which is sadly now extinct.
Thanks to the
They became
Spaniards.
Yeah, they died apparently to disease brought over by Europeans prior to any contact with the Europeans. They just uh, vanished. It's very sad. But the spears made the World Heritage List in 2014, and they are a fairly unique form of art or architecture in human history. So it's little wonder that they did make the list, since it is literally unique to a singular culture located in exactly one place on Earth.
Not to
Yeah,
mention, it's just really cool seeing how they made round spheres out of stones. And what we talked about during the podcast, which we highly recommend you check out, is the fact that they used harder stones and they beat the stones until they were round. And then they used literal grains of sand to sand the rock smooth.
yeah, yeah,
hey, if it works, it works, you know? Like, it took a lot of effort.
And that's the impressive part is it took a lot of effort. It took skilled craftsmen lots of time and lots of effort to build these and to shape them, which shows that they had a lot of food. Enough
yep,
food that someone didn't have to worry about making food so they could
yep,
craft.
yes. So on the World Heritage Site is not all of the spears, but in fact, it is 4 locations which contain a good number of these spears. It's actually a set of 4 uh, archaeological sites. One of which has just my favorite name of all sites I've seen so far. The 4 sites are Finca 6, Batambo, El Silencio, and Grijalba 2. And I just have to say, naming your site The Silence is just beautiful. I don't know what happened to make you name that, but I love it, and I love that it's now on the UNESCO World Heritage List as a thing they have to say.
I mean, like, that's also the name of a like a Doctor Who villain organization,
The
too. I mean,
silence.
yeah, the
Yeah.
silence.
The
um,
silence will fall.
the one thing I will say is like some archaeologists that I've worked with, it became a trend or a tradition for some people to name the sites because we get full control over what we name them. A lot of times, people will use some feature that they experience or that they've seen. Maybe where that site is, it was very quiet that day, and they could hear the silence. I know for me specifically, the one site I've named, I called it Crane Point because we saw a bunch of sand hill cranes flying overhead when I found a spear point in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah. I would prefer it was named because you found Ichabod Crane's severed hand pointing in a direction.
Oh my god.
The
I
Ichabod hand site.
Dear
Yeah.
God.
So back to the stone spears and their inclusion on the World Heritage Site. So um, the spears are on the sites because they fulfill exactly one criteria of UNESCO, and that is Criterion 3, uh, which is basically they are unique physical evidence of a complex society. they they literally, as far as we can tell, represent power centers within the Diquis culture. And so they are and something between art and architecture that represents, you know, authority for an extinct people. And that's worthy of the list. If nothing else is, that is worthy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it shows the stratification of the society to have these just even exist, and then the other thing that they talk about is the authenticity, and they talk about the site Finca 6 specifically, where most of the stones are still in their original alignment, and their original alignment follows pathways which go to prominent politicians' houses. They go to plazas, general areas. They're a way to show significance in the society.
Yeah, yeah, and the sites are extremely well protected in terms of legal protection. They have they are nationally recognized by the government of Costa Rica, and are guarded by both a law and a presidential decree, which places essentially access to and authority over the site entirely in the hands of archaeologists working for the government of Costa Rica. Which means that there is no outside source that funds them, no outside source that gets to say, no other piece of bureaucracy between the people who know what to do and how to help preserve the site and the site itself. It is placed in direct control, and that's a level of security that you don't really get in most parts of the world. Even when there are legal protections, often there is some other third party interest that has to be catered to in order to maintain the site. Very rarely is it just, no, the government said the archaeologists are running this and the archaeologists are running it.
God, you love to see it. You like to see when we're able to maintain control and people who have the best interest of the site maintain some level of control. And the other reason for this is we don't really know the culture that well. We don't know what their belief systems were. So it's also a way to kind of protect the sanctity of the sites.
Yeah, yeah, they were a prehistoric, pre-Columbian society, which means that we have absolutely no record of their opinions on anything.
I mean, even their name is an exonym, which is
Yeah.
a name that other people gave them.
Yeah, it's a name that was given to the valley in which they're found. I don't even think it's the original name of the valley either. It's because before it was Diquis, it was what, Rio Grande Tamara, I believe.
Oh, Rio Grande Terrabo.
Yeah, Taraba, Rio Grande de Taraba is like, so that was the original valley of Rio Grande de Taraba. That was the original name of the valley. Now it's called Diquis, and the people and the culture and the spears that are now UNESCO heritage sites are now Diquis. So it's an exonym on an exonym.
But
Yeah,
yeah, thought it'd be a good tie-in for us to talk about this after our podcast and to kind of look a little bit more into the site itself and its protections as a heritage site because we talked a lot about the culture.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a very very nicely done. And the one thing that is worrying for the site is there seems to be some push from UNESCO to get Costa Rica to preserve the lands around the sites as well, as those are not presently included in any of the preservation efforts. It's just the land of the sites. And it's that whole landscape archaeology, your field of view and all that stuff that it usually that factors into a lot of these sites. That's not really being considered. by Costa Rica as it's striving to preserve the sites itself with, the wrath of heaven and earth.
But yeah, on that note, thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check out the podcast and listen to what we had to say. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.